Today we have the story of the meme that broke Magic. In May of 2012, the set Avacyn Restored released, completing the original Innistrad block, amongst a sea of now iconic cards like Cavern of Souls, Avacyn Angel of Hope, Griselbrand, and Craterhoof Behemoth, was Magic's first ever 2-mana planeswalker, Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded. The initial response to Tibalt was decidedly mixed. Some players speculated that it would be good in some sort of graveyard deck to take advantage of its +1 draw and discard at random ability that synergized with the flashback mechanic from Innistrad, or maybe even in just a red aggro deck. Other players found it underwhelming, which caused Magic Pro and theorist Mike Flores to write an entire article defending Tibalt and bashing players who criticize the Planeswalker, stating that there are two things true about Magic cards. Planeswalkers are awesome, and most people who comment in any forum don't understand Magic. Once players got a chance to play with the card, it quickly became clear that the unwashed masses of the internet forums who found the card to be underwhelming were right. Tibalt was bad, like really bad. The 2-mana Planeswalker quickly became a meme, well known as the worst Planeswalker ever made. Players made funny videos trying to win with the card in various formats.
Okay, in Game 3 we are joined with our friend Tibalt. What do you
Once
think?
again, I think Tibbers here is just the best card.
Alright, let's keep...
I hope our opponent casts a Blood Moon effect so that we can cast our Tibbers.
A few moments later.
Yes! 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 -4, target you. Hit it, Seeker's second, right? Alright.
Come on, Simple!
Yes!
Victory!
Oh my gosh.
Its price quickly dropped from $20 when it was first spoiled, down to $2 and then eventually under $1, an almost unheard of price for a mythic at the time. Amid the jokes, Wizards decided to just forget that Tibalt even existed. While they did technically reprint it in Dual Deck Sorin vs. Tibalt, that product was already in the works when Avacyn Stored released. Otherwise, their only reprint of the card came nearly 10 years later as a white-bordered April Fool's Secret Lair drop, putting Magic's memeiest Planeswalker in Magic's memeiest border. Nearly a decade later, in February of 2021, Wizards decided it was time to bring back Tibalt and do right by him this time. One of the face cards of the new Kaldheim set was Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, probably better known as Velky God of Lies, and this new MDFC Tibalt was actually very good, with Velky being an on-curve creature on turn 2, and then Tibalt being a very powerful Planeswalker once you got to 7 mana. Tibalt Cosmic Imposter quickly saw play in various formats. In Standard, players simply played the new Tibalt fairly, while in formats like Modern, the MDFC aspect of Tibalt meant that you could cast a Cascade spell, reveal Velky God of Lies, and then cast the Tibalt side, which led to Modern decks that could cast Tibalt as soon as turn 1. Wait, can we turn 0 Tibalt? Looks like. Turn 0 Tibalt! Oh, that's not bad. So we will Gemstone Cave. Our opponents, oh, this is hilarious. Get rid of Bone Crusher. Simian Spirit Guide. Simian Spirit Guide. Violent Outburst. Tibalt! Turn 0 Tibalt! Oh. Oh, that's so good. But Tibalt Cosmic Imposter was just a sideshow, just an opening act. In 2021, Planeswalkers were the face of Magic, and when one showed up in a set, it would often have a signature spell named after it. For Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, this card was Tibalt's Trickery. Tibalt's Trickery is a strange card. It's a mono-red counter spell, which is already incredibly rare in Magic, but it's worded like a Chaos Warp, replacing the spell it counters with a random one from its controller's deck, which is supposed to make it feel like a red card, since red is the color of chaos and impulsivity. A quick glance through this spoiler thread for Tibalt's Trickery will show you that most people were focused on whether or not Tibalt's Trickery was a color pie break, or how to turn it into a real counter spell by comboing it with something like Teferi Time Raveler or Drannith Magistrate to keep the opponent from casting the spell that they revealed, but hundreds of comments deep in the thread. There's a post by Mr. Spokes, which simply said, countering your own creatures and casting an Ulamog is a plan for this. It's an enabler for you. It turns out that Mr. Spokes was very correct. After Kaldheim released, some players started working on a meme deck list that played 4 copies of Tibalt's Trickery, 8 0-mana artifacts in Tormod's Crypt and Stone Coil Serpent, and then 22 bombs, with the idea being you mulligan into a hand that had both Tibalt's Trickery and a 0-mana artifact, and then on turn 2 you'd cast the artifact, counter it with Tibalt's Trickery, and hope to spin into one of the bombs.
So we're going to cast the Serpent for 0. Confirm 0, and then we're going to counter this. 7 bad cards in the deck. And generally speaking, there's 7 bad cards in the deck, and there's 26 good cards in the deck. We have 2 of the good cards, so the probability is a little worse, but sometimes we have these, the bad cards in our hand, so it averages out. So, there it is. Let's cast this. And there it is. Great. Alright, I want to confirm 0. So now, again, there's 7 bad ones in the deck. Tormod's Crypt is 1. That's good. Tormod's Crypt is out. And great, Kioribeth the Sea God. Turn 2 against mono red.
According to Magic's resident mathematician Frank Karsten, a build like this would have a 60% chance of putting a bomb into play on turn 2. While the Tibalt's Trickery deck was never all that good in Standard, getting a bomb on turn 2 60% of the time sounds great, but the other 40% of the time, you just lose, and even if you get your bomb, your opponent could theoretically answer it, which meant that the overall win rate of the deck was less than 50%, although it was popular because it was easy to put together, and the games went by super quickly, making a perfect option for grinding out dailies on Magic Arena. While most players still considered it a meme, it was a meme that you would lose to in Standard on occasion. But in Modern, Tibalt's Trickery was another story altogether. The big issue for Tibalt's Trickery in Standard was that you could only play 4 copies of Tibalt's Trickery, so nearly half of the time you'd lose to just not being able to mulligan into a copy and a cheap artifact to counter. Modern players quickly realized that there was an easy solution to this problem in Cascade spells. The way that Cascade works is when you cast a Cascade spell, you reveal cards from your library until you find one that costs less mana than the Cascade spell, and then you get to cast that card for free. This means that if Tibalt's Trickery is the only card in your deck that costs 2 or less mana, you can play cards like Ardent Plea, Violent Outburst, and Demonic Dread, and know that whenever you cast one of these Cascade spells, not only would you cascade into Tibalt's Trickery, but because Cascade is a triggered ability that resolves before the spell itself resolves, the original spell would still be on the stack, so you could use Tibalt's Trickery to counter the Cascade spell, and then try to spin into something massive from your deck.
Opening hand, very risky. But we do have mana acceleration, so we're gonna keep. Oh, we're gonna do. We'll have to pass back. Oh no, Chalice on 1. How are we supposed to win now? Ardent Plea, Trickery, and it's Emrakul, which means we take an extra turn, or not, because there's a concede.
And the addition of these Cascade spells took Tibalt's Trickery from incredibly inconsistent in Standard to incredibly consistent in Modern. Plus, in Modern, the bombs that you can spin into with Tibalt's Trickery are way more game-ending than Standard. Toss in some fast mana from Simian Spirit Guide, and the end result was a deck that could very consistently put massive Eldrazi into play by turn 3 and often on turn 1 or turn 2. Almost as soon as Kaldheim released, the deck became incredibly popular in Modern, with endless videos and streams showing the absurd things it could do. The play pattern of the deck was especially egregious. Players had little agency. The game would happen, either Tibalt's Trickery would do its thing or it wouldn't do its thing, and within a few minutes it was all over. players hated it. Well, this happened during the pandemic era of Magic, so there were no major paper tournaments when Kaldheim released. The deck was everywhere online, and it proved to be so problematic that just 10 days after Kaldheim released, Wizards posted a ban list update that didn't just ban Tibalt's Trickery in Modern, but also banned Simeon's Spirit Guide, which offered the fast mana to cast Tibalt's Trickery on turn 1, and they changed the rules on how Cascade works to keep players from cascading into planeswalker Tibalt. According to Wizards, the banning happened not because Tibalt's Trickery's win rate was too high, but because it led to so many non-games that it made the entire format of Modern less fun to play. Discounting Lutrian Commander, this banning, coming just 10 days after Tibalt's Trickery released in Kaldheim, would be the second fastest in the entire 30+ year history of Magic, behind just Mind's Desire, which was banned 6 days after it released more than 20 years ago. And that's the story of how Magic's memeiest character Tibalt went from an unplayed, unloved 2-mana planeswalker in 2012 to a spell so powerful it was banned in less than 2 weeks in 2021, making Tibalt, and eventually its Trickery, the meme that broke Magic. Need a Tibalt of your own? Well, you can snag one from our sponsor Card Kingdom over at cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish. And if you're looking for even more Magic, make sure to check out the video about the deck that bored opponents to death on the Pro Tour, or maybe the one about the best 300 IQ plays in the history of Magic the Gathering.